Hello, my gorgeous beings of light. How are you today? Oh, I'm so excited. We are live from the office for the first time. You guys who have been following me for a while know that this has been a 13-year manifestation live now. So if you're ever wondering why is it taking so long, why is it taking so long, I graduated from massage therapy school 13 years ago and wanted to have my own space and my own office, and finally did it. I was working out of my house for forever and now have my own office space in its own building, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful. And when you can really come to that gratitude, right, that yeah, I worked for the last 13 years doing mostly out call appointments, working from my house. All of my business online and coaching has been, well, I've been raising babies, right? My youngest is going to be 4 this year. I opened my coaching business right before she turned 1. So you can really come into this space however it works for you. Your own journey is going to bring you there. So today's live stream is all about the keys to the kingdom, right? The keys to the kingdom of heaven, something that we're all taught, all talk about. And what does that exactly mean? And how do you hold those keys? And where do you find them? And where do you find the door to the kingdom of heaven? And just having this nice discussion today. This is our bi-weekly Thursday live stream. The other weeks is when we usually have our new moon and our full moon rituals. So just continuing to move through this eclipse portal. Say hi when you're here. I always like to make sure that the comments are working. Sometimes there's an issue. So if you've logged on, say hi so I can see them, and we will dive in. So I'm going to go ahead, light our candle as we always do. Little shout out to Descent. This is like the best candles I've ever smelled in my whole life. I love them. She's out of Houston, Texas. Anyway. Okay, so Mercury retrograde's going on, so we're going to hold some space right now that the communication will be clear, the connection will be clear, all of your questions will be answered, and really coming into this knowing of our worthiness to hold the keys to the kingdom, to feel really accepted in our authority, to accept our own authority of being the ones who keep the keys. And just having a lot of fun on this Jupiter day. As always, keeping the conversation open, making sure that you're really just honoring where you are in your own journey and not trying to jump ahead 10 chapters just because that's where someone else is, okay? So as always, we light the candle, and then we take, I have Palo Santo today, but your incense, your sage, whatever, always lighting it from the candle that you've set your intention with, so that the flame has the same energy going into it, and then weaving the smoke in a figure 8 motion, bringing all polarities into the singularity, creating a vortex of ascension where instantaneous healing and learning can occur. Beautiful. So, the keys to the kingdom of heaven. It's a pretty intense topic, right? Especially for those of you who might have some wounding around any Christianity beliefs or anything like that you were raised in. I was born and raised Catholic and then became Unitarian Universalist, have studied every religion that there is pretty in depth. You know, I was Muslim for a while, I was Buddhist for a while. I've gone really into a lot of the Aboriginal cultures of Africa. So my spiritual data bank is huge. And the thing that I love the most is seeing the similarities, seeing how the stories are the same, seeing how texts that were written around the same time will have similar stories, but of their own prophet, of their own flood or whatever. And they're very global and very they're the earth story, right? It's the human story that they're really telling. So hi, okay, Grace and Vet, thank you so much. I can see the comments. Yes, it's always nice. So the keys to the kingdom of heaven is really this idea that there is a kingdom, right? A kingdom of heaven, somewhere that is separate from the earth realm, that is not hell, right? So we have heaven, hell, earth, and we're all searching for the keys to the kingdom, right? We are finding the keys to the kingdom of heaven. We want to live in heaven. We want to have this afterlife. There's so many belief systems in the afterlife. And what I would like you to be able to do over the next 30 minutes or so is kind of put away the old beliefs you have around the keys and allow new information to come in. Allow this to be framed in a different way. So if we can all just like take the frame that we've had around this idea and just put it down for a second, and maybe we can put up a new frame. So heaven on earth is really the goal of the new age, right? When you hear about the new earth, when you hear about the golden age of miracles, when you hear about this, the idea is actually that you can live here on earth in your physical body and do so in a way that's blissful, that's pleasurable, that is filled with unlimited amounts of love, health, wealth, happiness, success, and that's really, we're experiencing that all the time, right? So there is right now on this planet millions and millions of people that would describe their lives as hell. Okay, so they are living hell on earth. When you're in that low vibration where everything's going wrong, when your body hurts, when you're dealing with all the melodrama and the anger and the abandonment and the trauma and the wounds and all of that stuff, you're living in hell. Okay? And then as you move up, you maybe reach this like, okay, well, I'm just living on earth, right? It's not hell, but it's just like how it's supposed to be, right? These are the 9-to-5ers, right? They wouldn't describe their life as hell, but they're just waking up, doing the same thing every day, wake up, go to work, pick up the kids from school, make dinner, go to sleep, and they're just on fucking autopilot, right? And they might experience some really highs and they might experience lows, but for the most part, they're just like, I'm living. I'm really looking forward to after I die. I'm looking forward to that kingdom of heaven that I keep hearing about. I'm not a sinner, I'm making sure that I'm living my life in accordance to the rules and this, that, and the other, but I'm not really I wouldn't describe my life as heaven, right? And then there's a really small percentage of the planet right now, it's growing literally every day, that we live heaven on earth, right? Our lives are filled with amazing success. We have gorgeous, deep conversations with people. We enjoy our senses. We're coming into the pleasure of our corporeal bodies. We're no longer addicted to our suffering, and we're not addicted to healing. If anything, we're addicted to growth and creation, and we just want to keep creating this beautiful life, and our dream life is ours alone. And we're not attached to any specific identity. We're not attached to any specific story anymore because we're constantly writing our story. We're the authors of our story, right? So that's living heaven on earth. So when you look at it this way, when you take the Buddhist principles of the lower levels up to nirvana, you can actually put that into your own life. That when you're not in a good mood, when you are laying in bed sick and thinking about all of the horrible thing that's ever happened in your history, you're living in hell. When you're just in a flat, life is life, you're just living on earth. And then when you're in those elated states of pure creation, pure bliss, just right after the plant ceremonies or right after a great time having sex or something like that, you're living in that heaven space. And my job is to help more people stay in the heaven vibration, that you can hold that vibration even when you're going to the office Christmas party. You can hold that vibration even when you're going to your cousin's wedding that you don't actually really like and you don't get along with any of your family. You can still be in the vibration of heaven on earth. So now that we have that, where do you think the keys to the kingdom are? Where do we find the keys to the kingdom of heaven? I'll give you a second because I know there's a delay. So yes, I'm actually asking the 3 or 4 of you that are on here, someone, where do we find the keys to the kingdom of heaven when we now understand that living heaven on earth and living hell on earth is all based on our own state of mind? Anybody? Okay. So you find it in you. I know it was probably pretty obvious, but you find it in yourself. So you are the key. You are the key to the kingdom of heaven on earth. You and your belief system and your willingness to detach from who you've been and step into the demigod or the demigoddess, right? To own the Christ as you. Okay, this is a phrase you guys hear me say all the time. It's nothing new unless you're new to the group, and now you've heard it, and now you'll hear it a billion times again. The Christ as you. When we think about Christ consciousness, it's the aspect of the creator that has separated from source, has separated from all. So there is an illusion of separation, but everything is still contained within the all. We just have the veil of forgetfulness. We forget that we're actually the divine incarnate. We forget that we are actually just as powerful as Buddha, as Muhammad, as Jesus, Christ, Yeshua is how I usually refer to him, of these other powerful beings, Mary Magdalene, Isis, Hathor. All of them were physical embodiments of Source who remembered that they were, right? So that level of power exists in you. So you are the key. The other thing that you realize is that you get to decide if any doors are locked at all, right? So a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, we did a meditation where we did the dragon key activation, okay? And this is something that I give my clients that we do together so that when they're doing any deep work, they're in their plant medicine ceremonies, they're doing an astral projection practice, or they're in a lucid dream and they realize that they're dreaming, we've activated within us what I call the dragon key, meaning like if you come across a chest or you come across a door or something in these experiences, like let's say you're in the middle of an ayahuasca ceremony and you're presented with this big ass door and you go to open it and it's locked, you've activated within you your dragon key, and you can just, pull it out of your pocket or whatever. We even created physical stones and things like that you can really attach this idea to, so that there's never a locked door. There's never a locked chest. There's never anything actually locked. And if it appears locked in your subconscious, you just have to remember, oh wait, I have the dragon key. I have the ultimate key that unlocks every door, that unlocks every chest, that unlocks every safe, right? Because our brain creates these things, right? If you've ever seen the movie Inception, what does he do? He puts the most important information in a safe. And when they're in the deep depths of the dream, they have to get him to open a safe, because that's how the brain is locking away those really deep transformative pieces, right? It's the part where you have to realize that your ego has a really important job, right? Your ego's job is to be the radar that's going beep, 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 looking for danger, right? Fight or flight is ingrained in your DNA for 450 plus million years inside of your amygdala, right? Hierarchy is 350 million years old. You can study lobsters, and it gives you a really good idea of how your amygdala works, actually. And I'm a science nerd, and yes, I study lobsters. So with this lobster analogy, though, not only do you have your fight or flight that's like the ego keeping you safe, you can also think of the ego as that shell around the lobster. And what a lot of people don't realize is that a lobster lives in its shell until the shell gets too small and they have to crack out of their old shell. And then they become this wiggly, really defenseless thing, and they got to go run underneath some rocks for a little while their exoskeleton rehardens. So many of you who have reached this point that are watching this video, who are interested thing. You can literally go on YouTube and look up lobsters breaking out of shell. It isn't pretty, okay? The shell is It's like 7 pieces. The lobster looks all weird and like wormy and like kind of gross and doesn't know what to do, is totally freaked out and like runs to get underneath some rocks because it knows it's going to get eaten by a seagull any second because it's so vulnerable. That is when you're transitioning in your life. You're taking a new life path. When you're entering that new door, right? You all want to know where the keys to the kingdom of heaven are, but who are you when you're in heaven, right? So let's do that for a second. Let's just like take an inventory. On your best days, on the days that you're just killing it, you feel on top of the world, you're in that, what I call dragon energy, or that demigod, that like, I'm on top of the world, hey, right? That energy, how does that feel in your body, right? And you guys are welcome to leave any comments here. You know, how does that feel? How does it feel in your body? So for me, I immediately notice that my posture gets really nice and erect, right? My shoulders are down, my neck is up, my chest is out, my heart is really open, my core is engaged, so really supporting my belief system, and my back is nice and tall and straight, yeah? And my voice softens a little bit. It's not as harsh or as deep and low, because for a woman, I do have a pretty low voice. I have a 4-scale range, but 4-octave range, but for the most part, my speaking voice is it gets softer. It's not as abrasive. I feel just like kind of this light and floating, like before when I was first using cannabis as a pain medicine, it's like that, like almost a little bit high, but still very grounded, right? That's the biggest thing for me. When I'm too out of body, like I lose track of thoughts all the time. I'm all over the place. I'm trying to grab back the idea. Versus when I'm really in my demigoddess energy, it's grounded. I can still feel like super connected to the stars, right? We've done this meditation in here before where we are the tree of life, reaching up and touching every star, but also the star that crosses over and becomes the tree of life. We're conduits for this energy between the heavens, between the cosmos and this earth game, being the way shower, being the light bearer, being the one who has his own light inside, and we're so solid in that we shine bright even in the darkest depths of hell. We might not go jumping into hell on purpose, but if we ever find ourselves in a deep, dark, scary forest, we know that the power is inside of us, that we can light the way. Yeah? So that becomes a body resonance feel that you can then bring to your cousin's wedding, that all of the people that you don't like or you have old stories about are there, right? And that's probably when all the people that you don't like are going to be like, holy shit, what happened to Sheila? She is different than the last time we saw her, right? Because the last time you saw all those people, you probably built it up in your head. Oh, Uncle John's going to do this, and Aunt Betsy's going to do that, and Cousin Carol's going to do this, and blah, blah, blah. So before you even got to the event, you've created this story of how it's going to be based on your past experiences with these people, based on the past story of who you were. And then, yeah, it was hell. It was totally hell. So now the next time you get invited to a wedding, what are you doing? You're just ripping up the invitation and being like, fuck that, no. When you do that, you're telling the universe a couple of things. The first thing you're telling the universe is that you haven't changed, that you're no different than the person that you were. It doesn't matter how many lectures you've gone to, how much money you've spent on coaches, how many massages, how many Reiki therapies, none of that stuff. It doesn't matter because you've already decided it's going to be just like last time. So that means you haven't changed. But that also means that you're not giving other people the grace to also change. Okay? So this is that law of reciprocity, this law of polarity and balance, that if you are allowed to change, then so are the other people. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have boundaries and that you just give everyone a free pass. It's that you really allow people to show up and you trust how they're showing up. You don't put on an old filter for them. You put down the frame, right? You clean that glass off of you clean the glass on the picture frame, right? And really be able to see who they are. And if they still show up the way they've always showed up, then you put up your boundary, but that doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. And most importantly, it doesn't mean that they have to ruin your night. You can still have a great time at the wedding. You can still have an amazing experience with the other people in the room that still light you up. Or you can gracefully leave early, right? You're there for the ceremony, you get the picture with the husband and the wife, or the two grooms, or whichever version of a wedding is occurring, the two brides, and then you bounce because that's your boundary. You're like, nobody really has changed. I gave them all like an honest shot, right? This isn't you casting judgment like, oh, I'm just gonna bounce early. Like, you really authentically gave it your best shot and let everyone show up, but they just haven't changed, and you've changed so much that it's like playing two. It's like trying to play Bach and like Bon Jovi simultaneously in a 4-person sedan. It's just not jiving. Then go ahead and go drive off into the sunset, right? That's fine. But that's because you know that you're the key. You're the key to your happiness. You are the key to your heaven on earth. Your heaven on earth is existing right now. Right now, you are choosing which level you're in. You can be in the 7th circle of hell. You could just be kind of hanging out with some devils. You could just be, 6 feet under and not that much is going on. You could be just walking on earth like, well, it's pretty good, sun's out, but not really in that gratitude, just like the monotony. Or you can be the sun. You can be the sky. You can be the storm, right? The power, the electricity. And yes, doing that takes a level of unattachment. It takes you being able to break out of that lobster shell, to understand that your ego, you don't have to die, but a part of your ego has to die, right? Your ego's always there, right? It's always going to be blipping. It's always checking. It's always checking. But if you associate who you are to the part of your brain that's meant to keep you safe, you are going to live the rest of your life in anxiety and worry and fear and nothing else. And then you are going to be living hell on earth. There's a reason why the pharmaceutical companies make billions of dollars giving people happy pills, because they haven't learned how to be happy themselves. And I was one of those people. Okay, I took lots of pharmaceutical pills. I had fibromyalgia. I was diagnosed when I was 21. I was taking all of the pharmaceuticals. Even after I got off the pharmaceuticals, I was using cannabis, and I was stoned all the time, because if I wasn't stoned, there was the pain, there was the anxiety, there was the fear, there was the old stories. So I just turned it off by being stoned all the time. And yes, I still use cannabis on a daily basis, but it's like once in the morning and once at night. And now it's turned into much more of a relationship with the plant medicine herself and how she can guide me, and not as a painkiller, right? I don't take painkillers, really. Like, it's got to be really bad. Like when I dislocated my rib a couple of weeks ago, and I actually took some ibuprofen for the first time in years. And I could sleep, and my ribs slipped back in while I was sleeping, right? So again, you have the discernment. You have the understanding of, you know what? This pharmaceutical helps relax my muscles. I've done everything else, the icing, the heat, all of that. Yeah, I'm going to take the ibuprofen. Yeah, but that's way better than the oxys that they were giving me before and all of the rest of it. So coming back to really this idea that the keys of the kingdom of heaven are you. It is you. Why it's so important to hold them is because that's when you really have come into authority, right? Author, authority, authenticity. They all start with this AU, which in Latin, AU is the origin. So when you're recognizing that you are the origin point, your consciousness, as you understand it right now, begins when you woke up after not remembering to go to sleep. And your consciousness, as you know it now, will end when you go to sleep, never to wake up again, right? You're in the middle of this dream, this super, super far out dream. Don't get me wrong, this giant illusion, but you're in a dream. You are dreaming the dream that your highest self wants to dream right now. And you're doing that. And in that process, by coming across this video, by coming into one of my workshops, by hiring me one-on-one, or any of the other thousands of other amazing coaches that there are out there, because I'm not the only one that teaches this, you are removing that veil, right? You're claiming the keys to the kingdom, and you're claiming the authority that it's you. You are the key. You are the one that chooses every single day. Am I going to stay in the same shell? Am I really going to have all these experiences with my ayahuasca ceremonies and my peyote ceremonies, or doing my combo and like all the plant medicine that you've done, or all of the transcendental meditation you've done, or all of the life coaches and business coaches that you've hired? You have all of this information. All these things are cracking at your shell. But you are so attached to your shell that even though it's cracking open and you can see bits of flesh underneath there, you're still like, nope, this is my shell. My shell. Bang. My shell. My shell. To own and take authority for it means that you're like, okay, I can let go of that shell. I'm going to be fine. I can allow myself to be wriggly and vulnerable for a little while. I can allow myself to be safe in this person's space, right? That's what I do with all of my clients. They come to me already pretty much ready to break out. In the first couple of weeks, we break them out and they're a little all over the place, but they know that like I am the rock, right? I am keeping them safe from the seagulls. They're not going to get eaten. They're, just follow the directions. And that's the level of trust though, right? When you take on a mentorship with someone, whether it's paid for or it's just watching videos, right? Because this is recorded, put up to YouTube, all of this stuff. You eventually have to take a leap of faith. But the leap of faith doesn't have to be a harrowing journey every time. It doesn't have to be fucking terrifying. When you start to have a relationship with your ego this way, when you understand that your fear is like, thank you for showing me that I'm afraid of this, but I have my own discernment. I am the author of my story, and I am discerning enough to know that even though my ego's freaking the fuck out right now, this is absolutely where I need to go, right? And anyone who's an entrepreneur, we all know what this feels like. Anyone who's really gone against the grain and it worked out for them, however that was, by coming out as, gay or bisexual or transgender, coming out, or even coming out as spiritual in your very conservative family, and you can see the reward after the fact. I promise you that when they're telling that story, they tell you about that little bit of fear. And that's the balancing act of like, okay, thank you, ego. Thank you for keeping me safe, but I really need to break out of this shell. I really need to experience this experience. And even if you fall flat on your face in the arena, you still have the power and the tenacity and the courage to stand back up again and dust yourself off and be like, okay, well, that didn't go how I thought it was going to, but look at all these lessons, right? You can take all of the negative experiences in your life and shift them into experiences and lessons. And when you can do that, you're then again taking the authority. This is my authentic self. I am taking authority. I am the author of my story. I fucking own all of my shit, all of my shadows, all of my darkness, all of my light, all of my love. I own it all. And because I own it all, I'm more discerning in how I interact. I can have the boundary to leave the wedding when I realize, you know what, I gave them all 1,000% open chance, and literally no one here has changed except for me, and I can't. It's too dissonant. And that's okay. You're still honoring yourself. Or when you come up against this, like, oh, it's just locked. There's a door. I'm being blocked. Everything's blocking me, right? That's a big thing that my clients come to me with. I just need to know what's blocking me. I need to know what's blocking me. The fact that you're saying that there's something blocking me is you locking a door, right? You're like, oh, it's locked. This is locked. There's something blocked. But when you realize that you are the key, then you can just immediately like, oh, there is no door, right? There is no spoon. There is nothing locked. It's a belief system. It's a structure. And as soon as we uncover what the belief is or the mental block is, if it's an unconscious block that you then become conscious of, the act of making it conscious is the unblocking. There's nothing else. Like, you had an unconscious block. Let's say it's a A big one that my clients deal with is like the fear of how much power they have. They've experienced things in their life where someone else with more power than them, or apparently more power than them, used their power in a negative way, in a harmful way, in a way that made the client feel victimized. That the client is now terrified of power. They might be like, no, 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 money is great. I like money, but power, that's the root of all evil. And so they're afraid of how powerful they could be. But they don't remember that that's why. They don't realize that they're just like, nope, I don't want that power. I don't want that power. Well, when we go through their stories, we go through their childhood, we maybe go through their past lives or something like that, and we come across the story that's been hidden deep, deep, deep in their subconscious of this power play that played out. Like maybe they were raped as a child and they actually don't remember it. Maybe there was a bully in high school that they've totally blocked out and then they remember it. Bully that used to shove them in their lockers or whatever. When we recognize that, like, oh, I'm afraid of power because Billy Bob used to throw me in my locker all the time. Just that, literally that right there, remembering the story is the unblocking. So many people are like, okay, now that we know what the block is, how do I unblock it? No, it was an unconscious block. Now it's conscious. So it was a block when it was unconscious. Now it's conscious. There's no block. It's not there anymore. You have unlocked it. This is why I say you are the key. You are the key to your freedom. You are the key to your liberation. But as you keep walking around saying, no, 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 where's the key? Where's the key? Who's got the key? Who's got it? You're not taking authority. There are so many people on this planet right now, and myself included, that we're not really giving you anything. You work with us, and it's really you remembering who you actually are. Yeah, we've got meditations. Yeah, we've got our tools. We have ways that we ourselves have figured out that might help you in your journey, but it's ultimately your choice. It's ultimately your choice if you're going to stay in your shell and just keep cracking and cracking. And the cracks usually look like really like extreme energy fluctuations where you're super, like it almost looks bipolar, honestly. Like honestly, I've had so many clients that have been diagnosed with bipolar that come to me, and then after a few weeks, we've been able to even out their energy, and it's because of these cracks. They're just so in flux in, I don't know what I want. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not sure. I'm not. And they're cracking open because they're learning all these things about themselves. They're coming into their plant ceremonies. They're coming into their meditation moments. They're having these conversations with star beings or inner earth beings, and their mind is breaking because their ego doesn't know, like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, this is new. I'm supposed to keep you safe, but your ego is developed by the time you're 6. So if you think about that, most people on this planet are walking around with the same identity they created when they were 6 years old, up to 12. So between 6 and 12 years old, and they're walking around in 60-year-old suits running the fucking country, but they have the emotional intelligence of an 11-year-old. Because they haven't allowed themselves to change. They haven't allowed themselves to come off the path to unlock this. They're existing. They exist, but they're waiting for heaven. They're wait till I die and then I'm going to receive my eternal reward. Your eternal reward is right here, right now, my love, because time is eternal. It's infinite, and it's also an illusion. You are existing right now, and you are existing everywhere at the same time, too. It's just that you're only conscious of right here, right now. So I teach my clients astral projection, why we meet our avatars on the other planet, because you don't understand how much energy you're giving to the whole fucking universe. No wonder you're not manifesting the life of your dreams. No wonder you're not manifesting the love and the connection and partnerships. No wonder you're not manifesting the money goals that you have, because your energy is actually all over the place. You're cracking in a million places, but you still want to just stay small. You just want to stay in no, I really like my shell. I really like this room. It's really, really tiny for me, and I'm kind of can't breathe, and I've gotten really big for it, but I'm way too scared to walk through that door. Even though I have the key. Even though the damn thing's actually unlocked already. I'm going to just stay in the same room for the rest of my life. And that's what you're saying every time you go back to the story of who you were when you were 6. Or you go back to, this is what happened with my brother when I was 9, right? It's not that you stop. It's not that you're like, oh, that never happened. It's that you stop identifying as the version of you that you were when that happened. You stop identifying as the scared little 6-year-old. You stop identifying as the nerd that got thrown in his locker. And you start identifying as the demigod, as the goddess, right? As the empowered, embodied empath light worker that you came to fucking be on this planet, or you wouldn't have made it 34 minutes into this fucking video, to be honest. Because I know who I am and what I am and how I serve. I know the people that make it this far in the video are the ones that are like, please just break me open. I'm willing to be a vulnerable, squishy lobster right now. Yeah? So we're going to do a little bit of just like visualization to close this off today. So go ahead and get comfortable. Settle into wherever you are. You can like prop your phone up. You don't really need to see anything. And go ahead and just land in your body. Don't really adjust yet. Just like notice, how did you land? What are your shoulders doing? What is your head doing? What is your core doing? Like, how is your stomach? What about your hips and how you're sitting? And just notice it. Don't judge it, just notice it. Now I want you to see, hear, feel, realize that you are in this lobster shell. That you're in this room, this tiny little room. How does your body change when you do that? Did you concave your shoulders a little bit more? What do you feel in your body now that you're imagining yourself in this teeny tiny living space? All the power of the whole universe inside of you, but you are stuffing yourself inside of this shell. How are you feeling? What do you see? What do you hear? Do you smell anything? Taste anything? What do you recognize within yourself as you think about being in a teeny tiny room, like the broom closet in Harry Potter, in this tiny little shell? And now, allow yourself to feel, see, sense, recognize, hear you breaking out of that shell. How does your body shift as you feel the expansiveness of that shell cracking open, of the door opening and a bigger room being available for you? Breathing in this expansive space. Oh, how does your shoulders feel? Your neck? How does your body shift as you expand yourself? Where do you feel vulnerable? Where do you feel uncomfortable? What else are you sensing, seeing, recognizing as you allow yourself to break open and break free and to own all of the parts of who you were, but know that they're not who you are anymore? And then finally, allow yourself to settle in your new space, in your new shell. The shell is there to protect you, but there should be room to grow in there. The room is there to protect you, but it's a bigger room. Lots of new things to look at, new things to discover, new art on the walls, new people to have conversations with. How does that really feel for you to land knowing that you've broken out of who you were and that you're settling into who you are and that this is safe? It's a safe space. You feel so secure and so held and so loved and so appreciated. The whole world is cheering for you. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? Can you sense it? the ripple effect throughout time and space that you are creating right here, right now, by allowing yourself to wear this new shell, to be in this new room, to know that you are the keys to the kingdom of heaven on earth, and that heaven on earth is available to you at every single moment. Just breathing this in, creating that conscious connection to how your body feels right now, so that you can come back to it in 5 minutes when this is live has ended and your kids start freaking out. Or you can come back to it in a week after you've seen your ex at the coffee shop with some other new girl. Create a body resonance feel, starting in your heart. How does it feel to be the author? How does it feel to be the key to everything you could ever desire on this planet, in this existence? And how long can you hold that for? And then when you're ready, slowly open your eyes, blink them open, come back into the room that you're in, and hold on to that feeling, hold on to that sense that you have of having broken open. You don't need to go back. You don't need to go pick up the shell off the floor and try to super glue it back together. This is you. This is how accelerated ascension works. Why I create the container with the figure 8 every time we have a conversation, because instantaneous healing and transformation can occur when you claim you're worthy of it. When you decide that you absolutely hold the keys to your pleasure and your bliss and your happiness here on this planet, no matter what the external circumstances are. That is a feeling that is inside of you. It's not in the box of chocolates. It's not in the lover. It's not in the big family. It's not in the millions of dollars. It's inside of you. Hold it. Own it. Go look in the mirror if you need to. Do what it is that you need to. Move your body. Try to come back to it as much as you can. When you feel out of it, come back. Come back and watch the video. Fast forward it to about 37 minutes in. The more you can hold this resonance, the more you're vibrating it out, and the more you will experience people, places, and things that allow this to be reinforced in your system. You're reinforcing your growth. You're reinforcing your healing. You're reinforcing the fact that you are who you are now, not who you were. I love you. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all next week for the new moon ceremony. It's going to be beautiful. I will see you on Sunday for Superconscious Sunday on my regular page. And I hope you have a beautiful Thursday.